Hi everybody, this is a short little intro to what MA Creative Technology might be here at LJMU. My name's Mark Smith and I'm the program leader for this, and there's my email address. I'll show that again at the end. Okay, so what are we talking about? What is creative technology? Well, hey, got some of this from Wikipedia, but there you go. It's everything to do with design, art and humanities that you can bundle up and put into some kind of media output using technology, all sorts of media technologies, such as video, special effects, audio, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of these things for installations, for theatre, for cinema maybe, for installation, did I say that, and for performance, and for apps, and for little bits of technology that we might use for entertainment, but ostensibly for telling stories. So, is a Furby organ creative technology? Well, yeah, of course it is. And what about that? Maybe not really, no. Context is important, so some of the things we might look at might be virtual reality. Is that virtual reality? Maybe. Is that? It's certainly an immersive space to take us out of the realm in which we might normally exist, back there in ancient Rome. Or how about a panorama in Leicester Square in the 18th century? It's where people could go to get an immersive experience, some sort of virtual reality. Nothing's new. Sensораmas, fully haptic sensorama, which one of our students is actually trying to recreate in an updated version of it. It should be fun. And then we come to virtual reality today, where resistance is futile, or is it? Other things we could look at are video technology. So we look at everything from how to use a camera properly if you don't already know how to use one, and that's a camera as well. We use the mobile. Anything you can get your hands on, any type of technology which you can utilize to create something wonderful, then go for it. 360 cameras, we look at that. That's not just for creating immersive or VR kind of experiences, but you can create all sorts of little bits and pieces, like little planets, just for fun, just because you can, if it's telling a story of some type. We can also look at things like projection mapping, everything from the tiny little chef on your dinner table doing some kind of story adventure around your plate, to something much larger, like a bit of activism projecting onto the white cliffs of Dover. Seems like a good place to project anything. And we also look at transmedia storytelling, the idea that we look at all types of media, all sorts of platforms, and all of these things can join together to make story worlds that people, users, we as a huge audience want to engage in, participate in, tell stories to one another. This can be used for activism as well. So you might take a story world such as Avatar and use it as metaphor for your own plight. Or you might have more fun and engaging things with a Barbie doll to try and stop Mattel from using raw wood from tropical rainforests in order to make packaging for their dolls. Part of that is interactive storytelling. Everything from using something simple like WhatsApp, where you can have truly engaging multi-person storytelling, almost like a live theatre, participatory theatre, to interactive documentaries like Hollow, which again are participatory, and you can explore the world of Hollow in your own time, get your own take on the story. And then there are old movies from the 90s which explore notions of interactivity. You'll never see the same movie twice. You will. Or perhaps something a little bit more modern update on that. We have things like Bandersnatch, which use that sort of game world idea in which you can make choices about which way the story goes. And you may want to go back and revisit to see if the story changes. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the endings are always the same. Maybe it's a con, but it's engaging. And interactive storytelling is also about doing things in a space, in the live. So you can use pieces of software like Isadora, where gestures, movements can make things happen, can engage people in some sort of story world or just a fanciful artifact. And we can use all sorts of devices to help us interact with the media that we've created. Things that can note where we are, what we do, how we do things, to change the media that people see. And we can also think about apps as psychologists, websites as psychology, even things like Waze, the idea that you gamify every journey to engage you in a platform. It's very interesting. And then you've got masses of media all coming together to rethink what a storybook might be in Zach's haunted house. Gamification is important. We can learn a lot from the games industry, not just about interactivity, but the way that you engage in first person, or that you engage in worlds in which not much happens, but it can still be an engaging thing. There's always a conflict as well between gameplay and the story. Voice is an interesting thing to look at. Should we use Alexa as our psychiatrist? Probably not, because we can't all have the same psychiatrist, can we? Performance is a good thing to look at. So, whether it be theatrical or whether it be for music or whether it be for music again, a theatrical kind of presentation of a music performance. And we've got holograms as well performing, whether it be of dead performers or performers that never existed. And we've also got a more theatrical kind of participatory performance. If you look at some of the work of people like Blast Theory, where people engage in controlling real avatars around a city. Virtual reality, as I've mentioned at the start, that's something we need to probably engage in. It's nice to be able to create spaces that never existed, or recreations of spaces that once did. And quite often you might have to use goggles for this. I'm not sold on goggles. I don't think we like wearing them. We like to be aware that we're with an audience, I feel. Augmented reality is probably more interesting. Everything from silly foxes on a hand to silly animals all over the place. I think what's interesting about something like Pokemon Go is it sends out the message that there is an audience for people to walk around parks collecting animals, but it's also about ways in which we can augment the spaces around us all the time, tell stories, location-based storytelling. Unfortunately, we might end up in an augmented supermarket, which would be rather hateful. So who's this MA for? Well, it's for people who may have studied media practice, or studies for that matter, people who have done computer science or game studies perhaps, or for people who do film studies or film practice, or for people who are fine artists who want to engage in exploring different technologies to tell everybody what they want to tell them. Graphic design is quite important, and obviously creative writers as well. They might want to get engaged in using all sorts of different types of media to tell their stories. Because at the end of the day, this is for anyone who wants to engage in telling stories by any media necessary. All media that existed before, all platforms that existed before and now, and emerging platforms and technologies. We are technology agnostic, but we are storytellers. So why would you want to do this, MA? Well, there's been a huge increase in the creative tech sector of the creative industries. And in the Northwest as well, there's a huge increase. in a number of people who are working in this sector. And there's a problem in that there's a lack of training. If you're a creative technologist, they're the guys, you're the guys that people want. So how does this one work? Well, we do it full-time for 1 year or part-time for 2 years. The list you see there is just, or the table rather that you see there is just for full-time delivery. So in the first semester you do critical media contexts, which is looking at everything that's been before and everything that exists now and thinking about ways that things might exist in the future in terms of storytellings with creative technologies. It's a research and looking at practice module. Alongside that, we do a module called Creative Technologies, which is a playful studio stroke lab based situation in which we explore all the different types of technologies that are out there, whether it be sensor driven, interactive, whether it be Unity, whether it be the Adobe Creative Suite, whether it be looking at audio, whether it be looking at all sorts of different types of technologies that we might be able to utilize in telling stories. You'll see that alongside that we've got an OR, Reflections on Professional Practice. So that's for those of you who might be thinking of applying who already work in this field in industry. And if that were the case, then you might want to really re-look or re-evaluate what you've been doing over the last few years. Anyway, in semester 2, you've got a choice of doing either a collaborative project, so you would be in this working with the sister program, Immersive Arts, and you would be engaged in making something from a live brief from outside of our institution. So this year our students were reimagining how the museum might work. We were working in the World Museum to try and explore how an audience might engage with their artifacts, new ways of looking at their artifacts, and also thinking about how we utilize creative technologies in making those artifacts more interesting somehow. If you didn't want to do that, you wanted to do something which was more literary, I guess, you could do interactive story. This you would share with documentary filmmakers, actually. So you'd be thinking about telling stories online. It's about interactive storytelling. Then alongside that, in the second semester, you would be looking at research and proposal. This is where you spend your time with us and your peers to think about what is it you're going to be doing for your final master's project. There's a lot of research into the context, but also into the technical parameters, story parameters, all of those aspects that will come together for you to be able to develop a proposal and pitch that to us, which will then emerge into your final summer semester project, which is Creative Technology Project. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Please email me if you've got any questions, and do go to the blog there, and I'll try putting some stuff in the blog. Thanks very much.